Hey everyone, it's Heather Nichols. I have a patriotic card to share with you today that I created with the Pennant Parade Cling and Clear set, as well as a few other patriotic themed products. The Pennant Parade set includes a outline banner background, and then there are 5 fills on a small clear set that fit into any of the pennants on the background design. I'm also using the All Tucked In Patriotic clear set. I'll be using the Celebrate Freedom sentiment from the Handlettered 4th of July set, as well as the coordinating die. I'll be using the largest rectangle in the Stitched Rectangle Stacklets set, and the small die that is a part of the Banner Year 4th of July set. For ink colors, I'm using Cherry Pop and Mulled Wine. I'll use Blueberry and Blue Corn, and I'm also using Oreo ink. Finally, I'll be using a blender brush, and then I will be using some foam squares to pop up different elements on my project. First off, I'll stamp the banner background using Oreo ink onto a piece of sugar cube cardstock. I'll set this up in my MISTI by placing the banner background down into the MISTI and then closing the lid to pick up the stamp on the lid. I'll ink up the stamp with Oreo ink, and then I'm stamping an impression right onto the grid paper so that I can see where it's going to land when I stamp it on the piece of sugar cube cardstock. I'll add a little bit of adhesive right to the grid paper so that the cardstock doesn't move around since it's a background and it covers most of this piece of cardstock. I'll set that right in there, and then I'll ink up the banner background with Oreo ink and close the lid to stamp it onto the sugar cube cardstock. To stamp the fills into the outlines on the Pennant Parade background, I used an acrylic block. You absolutely could use your MISTI too, but I feel like the acrylic block goes a little bit faster. The clear stamps are really easy to see through, so you can line everything up just perfectly. I used the All Tucked In Patriotic stamp set to add stars and firework bursts in between the banners on my patriotic background. This set has so many cute little elements that are perfect to accent any of your patriotic or projects to celebrate a birthday, graduation, or other special event. I stamped the images in the same colors that I used to do the fills on the Pennant Parade background design. Next, I'm stamping the sentiment for my card. I'm using the Celebrate Freedom stamp from the Handlettered 4th of July stamp set. I'm adding that into my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp it onto sugar cube cardstock using Cherry Pop ink, but I also want to add a little dimension so this sentiment pops just a little bit more on my project. And so I'm going to add Mulled Wine ink to the sentiment to add a sort of gradient or ombre effect. I'm using a blender brush to add the mulled wine to the stamp on the MISTI, and that's because it'll add kind of a gentle blend, and I'm just inking that freedom portion of the stamp because I just want the bottom to be the darker color, and it's going to take several impressions with your MISTI to get the effect to really show through, but you can experiment using different colors with this technique or different shades of colors just to get some different variation in how you stamp your sentiments for your projects. Once I have my sentiment stamped, I'll cut it out with the coordinating die. I'll line it up, and then I'll use a little bit of removable tape to hold that die in place and send it through my Sidekick machine. I die cut out an additional piece with the Celebrate Freedom die from the Handlettered 4th of July set to add a little bit of dimension underneath my sentiment. I'm die cutting it from the Mulled Wine cardstock, which is the darker color I used in the sentiment, and when I attach it to the sentiment, I'm sliding it down and to the side just a little bit to almost add a dimensional shadow to the die cut. I used the largest Stitched Rectangle Stacklets die to cut out the Pennant Parade background that I stamped, and then I'm ready to put this card together. I'm adding the background design to a toffee card base using foam squares. I'll also use foam squares to add the Celebrate Freedom sentiment to the bottom part of my card. And then for a final finishing touch, I added 3 silver sparkle stars that are die cut with that star die from the Banner Year 4th of July stamp set. I used Stick It on the cardstock and added the glitter, and I'm just adding those around the Celebrate Freedom sentiment on my card. I hope you enjoyed this patriotic card project, and I hope you learned something new today. You can find all of the supplies to create this project at the Tailored Expressions website at tailoredexpressions.com. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody, and I'll see you next time.